If you are looking for most aggressive yet trickiest reply to the French defense, then you came to the right place, because in today's fifth lecture of Attacking Chess Gambit, I'm going to demonstrate the amazing French Wing Gambit, which you might want to consider as a complete surprise weapon in the tournament practice. In this video, I'm not only going to give you an overview of this gambit, but my main focus will be showing you the most high-profile tricks and traps which frequently occur in this line. Once again, just keep an eye on the database which is situated just below me so that you can see how many people exactly fall for the particular trick. Okay, let's get started. After e4, e6. Now the mainline move here is d4, but as we are playing for the Wing Gambit, we start with knight to f3, and after black's usual response d5, we push on with e5. Here black can delay the c5 and play other moves, but in those cases white always get an advantage. So by far, as you can see from the database, majority of the games continue with c5, to whom we deliver this surprise package. b4, kaboom! So what's the big idea? Well, again, black has two major choices. One is to capture this pawn, and the second is declining by playing knight to c6. So let's see each by turn. First, let me demonstrate what is the idea when black captures this pawn. Here, okay, you can play the move a3, but I don't like the structure after the move d4. So my recommendation is that you continue with d4, and when black continue with knight to c6, we play in a true gambit style with a3. Okay, if black doesn't capture, then we will take on b4 and then continue with c3. So in most of the cases, black took this pawn. And once again, we are not interested in pawn grabbing, but continue with c3, which will reveal what is white up to. As you can see now, white has this tremendous pawn structure in the center, which not only gains space, but it also blocks majority of black pieces. And the most important factor is, not only we can regain our pawn back, but by playing the move bishop to d3, white get tremendous attack on the king side, which we are about to see. Let's see our first trick. So I'm picking the most frequent choice by black here. So bishop to d7 is the highestly played move here. And after that, remember this golden move, bishop to d3. Again, we are not in a hurry to capture the a3. What we are doing is we are targeting the king side. Now I'm really surprised that a6 has been played in more than 2000 games, which is in fact a big time mistake by black. And after white's next reply, black is almost busted. You wanna see it? Watch it, buddy. Knight to g5. What a move. And as you can see, at 6, g6, bishop e7, all the tries by the black leads to a disaster. Let me show you how. So first move is at 6, which is played in more than 200 games. Big blunder, and I hope you already see it. Yup, this lovely sacrifice. Knight captures f7, bam! Well, black two major pieces are hanging, so black doesn't have any choice. He has to take this knight. But after that, the task is very simple. First, you give this queen check. And black poor king has only one space to go. After that, yup, the another dazzling move. Bishop captures a3. And would you believe black finished just within the 12th move of the game. Okay, so roll back and let's find out, apart from h6, if your opponent continue with g6, which looks very natural, right? You're blocking every single attack. But see yourself, h4, we are trying to rip apart the black king side. And against this, the most frequent reply is h6. But this leads to, again, the problematic territory. Yup, you guessed it. Knight captures f7. King takes f7. And now queen check, forcing black to go to g7, as if he goes to the e7, then bishop captures a3, again leads to mating territory. So that's not good. g7 is forced. And after that, yup, you guessed it. Bishop captures g7, another dazzling sacrifice, ripping apart the whole king side. And funny enough, black has no defensive resources here. For example, if we continue with moves like queen to e7, then we have bishop captures a3, dislodging the queen. And apart from it, if black can't play it, then the next move is very obvious. Queen f7, creating a complete mating havoc. So as you can see, if black continue its most frequent choice, namely bishop d7 and a6, then the disaster is looming very quickly in the opening stage. So by far, the second most popular choice is knight g to e7. And after our trademark setup, that is bishop to d3, black has two knight maneuvering. The first move I want to consider is knight to g6. Looks obvious, you are defending your king side. But again, white can set up a very tricky platform, starting with knight captures a3. Well, black really doesn't want to capture this knight because after bishop takes a3, all the dark squares has been controlled by the white. So the natural move here is bishop to e7 and trying to castle on the king side. Well, now the fun begins for the white, and I propose my home preparation from here, and that start with h4. So if allowed, we will play the move h5 and dislodge the knight. So accordingly, black has two choices, either to capture on h4 or to play h5. Well, knight captures h4, most frequently played move here, but I'm afraid that's a poison pawn, guys, and the simple refutation goes as follow. Knight captures h4, bishop captures h4, and now this lovely queen to g4 double attack, forcing black to give back the material after bishop to e7 and queen captures g7. Black rook in the corner hangs, and when he save it, rook to f8, we have this nice winning move, knight to g4. So idea is very obvious. What really white wants to do is, he wants to play knight to d6, get this bishop so that his dark square bishop can be goes to h6 and then take the rook on the f8. It's simple plan, but even though black can see that one is coming, he can hardly defend this position. For example, a6 has been most frequent choice, but after this, very simple, knight to d6 check. If king to d7, then rook captures h7 is a very strong reply. So black always take this knight, but after pawn takes d6, black has two ways to lose the game. if he does not take on d6, then after bishop to h6, he is going to lose his rook. And even though if he takes this pawn, he is a complete goner because of our familiar tactic. Yup, I'm sure you indeed spotted. Bishop to a3, bye-bye rook on the f8. Okay, let's look at the second obvious choice, namely knight to f5. And against this, I prepared a very sneaky maneuver. So first, what I propose is you take back your pawn, and after black ready to castle with bishop to e7, you just continue with knight to c2, so that knight is going to be transferred on the king side. And most importantly, black cannot castle here. Why? What's the problem? Because that's the most obvious move, and more than 50 games goes into this direction. But after this, I'm sorry, but black is completely losing. Do you really want to try by yourself? Well, take your time, pause this video and go ahead. I'm showing you right now. The star move is g4. Now, black really don't want to play knight to h6 and then get his king side completely shattered after bishop captures h6. So once again, the frequent choice is knight to h4. But this leads to our amazing tricky territory, and that goes with this forcing variation. Knight captures h4, bishop captures h4. Now you play g5. So the idea is very simple. We want to play queen to h5 and give a double hit. So black response is forced. He has to take this pawn. And after that, very nice move, queen to h5. Again, black response is forced. He has to play h6 in order to defend both the threat. And now you play another aggressive move, rook to g1. So the simple plan is I want to capture this bishop and then deliver h7 mate. So the black response is forced. He has to take this bishop, and after rook takes, now white has a different threat, namely queen captures h6. So that's why few games in the database continue with king to h8, pairing this threat. But here comes the GJ's recommendation, and that is very amazing but the sneaky king move. Yup, you heard it right. King to d2. And what's the big idea? Well, idea is to connect the rook so that we are all set to sacrifice on g7. You might say, hang on, but I can defend it with rook to g8, right? Well, you can, but you don't stop my sacrifice, that is. Boom! Now, it doesn't matter however black recaptures. The best move here is king takes g7. But after rook to g1, black king obviously can't go to h8. So king to f8. But this is where the surprise comes. Rook captures g8. What a move! So at first sight it looks like, hang on, you're sacking everything, so how are you going to checkmate black? But see yourself. Now you stop king to going on f8 square with queen to h6. And believe me, white has a very simple plan. That is, he wants to involve his knight on the king side. And even though it looks very slow, black cannot do anything about it. For example, f5. So black is trying to defend the 7th rank. Obviously, we are going to take it. And after queen to c7, we play knight to e3. See how pathetically black queenside pieces has been played, as none of them are actually helping the poor black king. Let's see a sample line. b6, knight to g4, bishop to b7, queen to g6 check, and after king to f8, and the move knight to h6. The mate is unavoidable, and even though black can throw some checks here, white can safely negotiate and coming out on top.